Three,
Hey.
two, one. Hey, hey!
I got a feeling that's gonna be in the video. I'm gonna try and snip it off. Gamer Dan,
Yeah,
what's happening? What's happening, Gamer Dan? Oh,
yeah, all good, all good. Glad to be back, back, baby.
yeah, but wait, where was you? I mean, just so you know, people had an anniversary
Oh
last month.
yeah, can't go into great details. It's not my story to tell, but I had a family function, a wedding. It's nice seeing the whole clan in one place. My family's scattered to the four winds, so it's nice to be able to get back together and get drunk. Good
Yeah, great
times, good
moments,
times.
man. Yeah, I tell you, my family does not like it, and I tell you, I hope you got some video. I mean, some pictures to send me later. Do you, by any chance?
Oh yeah, yeah. I say I'm waiting to get the actual wedding photography videos back because we got a few fun ones. So once I get a hold of those, then I'm just like blitzing it all over the place. Then everyone check it out.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah,
I,
and yeah, sorry, go on. You're saying?
yeah, and we're from England. We're English guys in
Yeah.
Japan, so we call it a stag night. But in
Ah,
Australia, they call it Bucks Night. So for months, I was like, "Yo, we're doing the stag night," and they're like, "What's that? What is happening with the Bucks Night? What the smeg is the Bucks Night?" And then there was this weird miscommunication, like we're organising the night, but we just got the name wrong. Oof. But fun
dude.
times, fun times. How
You
about
know,
you? What have you
yeah,
been
I
up to?
mean, I actually wanted to, well, I'll mention my thing, but before I do, I just want to ask, I heard that the C word in Australia is not such a bad word.
Oh yeah, it's the same in England. It's not. It's a non-gendered word, and
Mm.
it's used more like an enhanced. I can't say the one it's in. The ass
But, no.
divot,
Oh,
ass bucket. You know, there's a word that's kind of a rude word for someone, and the C word is like an enhanced version of that. It's gone, you know, it's evolved version of that. So
I
it's
got you.
not, and it's non-gendered. Hell, I use
Mhm.
it. I refer to this more men as a C word than women.
There you go, yeah. I mean, that is it. That's the way it's meant to be. Now, just so you know, people, my missus had oh well, and I said we had an anniversary and had a great time for the Red Lobster dinner. Yeah, I tell you, the only thing that was weird was that, and the evening after the whole thing, I don't know if that, what if you call it anaphylactic shock, but no, is it called anaphylactic? I think it is. Well, you just
Yeah,
this could be some sort of
allergic reaction.
allergic reaction and huge hamburger eyes sealed over. I thank God we were able to get that healed up quickly with a good doc, but apparently there's no allergy on file, so we speculating maybe it's just something in the sauce or something.
Yeah, I say when the fact that she didn't balloon up immediately is like if she was allergic to the food, it would have happened. But because it was a delayed reaction,
Mm,
we need a doctor. We need to bring a
yeah,
doctor on to kind of query this, and
yeah,
then talk about some why there's a disturbing lack of medical video games. You know, I miss. You know, I had a Wii back in the day. I'm a Nintendo guy,
yeah,
and
man.
the Trauma Center. Those were some fun games.
I never
Like
played it. How what was it like?
certain, oh, fun. Yeah, you use the Wii remote as like a scalpel or object, so you had to do like surgeries, obviously gamified and whatnot. But there was a time limit, blood pressure, so you had to get pieces out and sew the pieces back up. Very clever. Yeah, I'd like to see more of that. Though, admittedly, you'd need some. Logically, you might need some kind of handheld peripheral for it.
Ah,
So,
right.
yeah, with a
Well,
controller, it's kind of janky.
well, there you go. A long way from Dr. Mario. But
Okay, yeah, there is Dr. Mario. I'll give you that. Fair enough.
but
Yeah,
still,
but
yeah.
yeah, as I say,
They,
it's nice to hear that your wife is doing all right. I know you had
yeah, but
a
yeah.
wonderful day ruined by weird cooking. But moving along, right, we're back and where we are excited to talk about two major things going on in the video game industry right now.
You
Well, people have
go.
been talking about it, speculating. We're going to be talking about the old PP, Pow Pow, PlayStation Pro 5, and Palworld. I got some
Yes.
thoughts on Palworld, I'll say that.
This is it,
But
dude.
yeah, we're going to watch a little bit of Video Game Donkey's video on PlayStation Pro 5 because we respect you. You're our audience. We trust that you're aware of what's going on. So we might as well just lean into the jokes.
Yeah.
And we got some interesting thoughts, some brain worms, as RFK Jr. might say,
Yeah,
to get out.
yeah. Yes, I love these lines. Yeah, man, definitely. And I'm sure you people appreciate all our double layer humor, if you will. as you always do. So here we go.
Right, and blowing that up and share. Host hasn't allowed multiple presenter
Oh
sharing.
no, I thought I did. Excuse me, people.
Technical difficulties. We still haven't got a technical difficulties picture.
Yeah, I think
Really, like a whole thing we just put up. You know what? I always loved the Simpsons version of that. It was a camera guy who was like chugging a bottle of XXX and like, and you're like, yeah, it's not the actual technology that's screwed up. It's the staff. But just hold on while we deal with this. Right.
Yeah. Oh, you should have it right
Done.
now. Yeah.
Okay, done. Share sound.
If I put that in, I want to put it in quickly. Maybe I'll put it in after that. Here we go. Let me zoom out. I'm zooming in for some reason. Excellent. All right, here we are. PS Pro. What in the world is that? Let's talk about it.
Yeah, PS5 Pro. I like the idea because obviously it's PlayStations have brought out Pro versions. There was a PlayStation 3 Pro, I think. I know there was definitely a PlayStation 4 Pro, which makes sense. You know, halfway through or to the tail end of the console generation, they bring out an enhanced version to play the games that are pushing the technology hardest. Made perfect sense with PlayStation 4, but why PlayStation 5? Is there anything that's really pushing it?
Let's talk about it, man.
All right, let's have a look.
Ladies and gentlemen, introducing the PlayStation 5 Pro, the first professionally made console for gamers that know the difference between right and wrong. The graphics on these are beast-like. Look at how incredible that looks. Now let's get some footage from the base PS5. Oh God! Oh God! It looks terrible. Oh God! Get it off the screen. Get it off this. Put on the PS5 Pro. Now this is what I'm talking about. Look at that. Look at how
crispy.
Look at how incredible.
You said the word crispy.
I can never go back. I can never ever go back to the base PS5. Now let's go back to the base PS5. Oh my God! Oh, it's terrible. It's terrible. Oh, that burns my eyes. Oh, that's sickening. Oh, that is truly sickening. Yuck. Yuck. Put on the PS5 Pro now.
Oh. Wow.
That's good.
That's nonsense. Amazing. It reminds me of the Xbox One when they brought out that what's that game? Forza? That
Forza.
Yeah, when I saw it, I was like, that guy's crazy realistic. It's so,
I know, it is.
like
the layers of detail. Especially like modding the cars.
Yeah, it feels like fresh breath. Oh.
Daytona.
Yes, that's hilarious. Well, wait, what's going on here? He's obviously putting on a really old game. Is that the real PS5?
Yeah, he's joking. The joke is obviously like he's going. PlayStation 5 is going back. They had a PS3 game. This is a Dreamcast game, and he just goes further and further back. So
absolutely terrible. This is a console with no power. Put on the PlayStation 5 Pro.
Oh, I'm excited for the sequel. Oh, new Ghost of Tsushima.
Wait, see, this is the Pro again.
Yeah, this is the Pro.
With the Xbox One. I got to tell you the. Are you kidding me? You need a slap in the head.
I gotta say, I appreciated Naughty Dog when they released the fourth Uncharted game, Thief's End, because at the beginning you get to play an actual level from Crash Bandicoot, and then the camera pans out, and it is Drake playing the game with his wife. And that's such a nice
touch.
Nice touch. It's such a nice memory of like, yo, here are these characters who are enjoying our old games. You know, hell, it's like having a game within a game, like Donkey Kong 64. You were able to play early Donkey Kong,
old school Donkey, or she like Shenmue people. You know, I love Shenmue because of the playing Space Harrier in Shenmue. That just blew me away. Oh, hang on, I play it all the time. Yeah, but definitely.
Yeah, but I say I like this. This video is funny. I'm a big fan of video game Donkey. He makes me laugh. You know, his kind of humor is funny as hell. But he does make the joke lands because I think it resonates a lot, really well with the eye. A lot of complaints or a lot of thoughts. I'm just going to drop the sharing. A lot of people have been saying about the PlayStation 5, which is that this generation we just haven't had a lot of really difficult, labor-intensive games. We've had some great games, some games that look fantastic, but PlayStation 5 base level can play them perfectly fine. The only thing that's going to improve is like there's some ray tracing. There are visual finishes that you can add to the game. But everyone I know who's got a PS5, I talked to my friends about this. They just turn it off. It causes the console to chug. So the only thing that the PS5 Pro would be worth is to add more bells and whistles. It's not improving the base game. It's not like, oh, there's a bunch of games that we want to play but we can't because the console itself can't handle them. It's, we can play the game, but you should play it with extra shadow and extra lighting effects. Wow. And you're like, no, I just want to play this smigging game. I'd be happy to play Banjo-Kazooie, the classic one, because it's a great game. Exactly. And that's I think that's why Sony's lent more into it being a premium item. Like they've prohibitively made this expensive. They've done this in the past. That some of the earlier PlayStation models were really pricey, but PlayStation 5 Pro is so crazy. It's only going to be like a deluxe item. It feels like a luxury item. This isn't a console. This is a premium thing for people who've got the money. A bit of they're trying to add a bit of prestige to it. You can get yourself some headphones, or you can get yourself some Ray-Cons.
Yes.
Lean into the branding of it. It is a Pro. And you're like, yeah, because you don't need it. Mm-hmm. Regular earphones will do perfectly fine.
This is it, dude. And what I gotta say here is, let's talk about, like you just said, the need. I want to have a little discussion about the economy. So here we go. The whole idea of the Malibu Stacy with the new hat syndrome,
It's a new hat!
Yeah, it always used to tick me off growing up. I mean, I don't know what it is, maybe because I never had much dosh. I mean, somehow I always find myself getting gifts. Because I was the last kid, I get gifts from people, gift of all these things. Mm-hmm. When I was growing up and I had to go and get it myself, then I said to myself, wait a minute, man, one thing that annoyed me, not even just that being able to afford it, but oh, by the way, dosh is money. People from the UK, yes.
That's dosh.
Yes.
And in Japan, that's dosh.
Yes, and in some cases it means but, which is weird. But anyway, never mind. But that being said, here we are again. So I was thinking, one thing that annoyed me about bringing out a new console growing up is the idea that I invested a lot of care in the console I had. The idea that a game becomes obsolete just because the new Big Brother has just been released really frustrated me in school. I remember I'd have these memories where I'd have I don't know. Even though, hey, let me see. The N64, the PlayStation, the Dreamcast came out around about the same time.
Yeah.
And you get one, and then the next console will come out. People would say that PlayStation came out 32-bit. What? And the N64 64-bit. What? The Dreamcast is 128-bit. What? Then the PlayStation 2 is out. I'm like, hey, look, I can't keep up with these things. I just want to enjoy my game. And that game is just old. It doesn't mean it's bad now just because the new one's out. So, and I used to frustrate me. It's a bit like when the iPod came out, then the mini iPod, then the mini iPod, and then you're like, oh, and that's why I proudly rock an iPhone 6. Because I'm thinking, yeah, it works, and I have other devices I can use to get my tech on, if you will. And that's one thing I appreciate about Nintendo in terms of, especially these days, stretching out. I think we were talking a while ago about the Switch being
constant generations.
Such a bloody long time, yeah. And before they used to churn them out more rapidly, I think it's like they're trying to catch up with PC games, as you were saying. And now we got that. But ever since the Wii came out, for goodness sake, Nintendo had set the bar, has set the standard for, if you're going to bring out a new game, you might as well bring out something that is a new way you might as well make it relevant to buy versus getting a PC game. I'm saying this in a very jumbled way. What I'm trying to say is you need to make the way you play a selling point more than just the graphics, because you can always outdo the graphics with a new something. And if you make that what people want, in the case of the PS5 Pro now, when it costs an arm and a leg after you just shelled out your month's rent to buy the PS5 when it first came out in the first place, you're going to feel pretty silly. It's a good game. It's a good look toy, if you will. But I mean, the very look of it is worth buying just for that. But
I think you strike on two interesting points here. I want to come back to one of the earlier things you said, which is, when next generations replace older generations, the older games are still perfectly valid. People love their retro games. They want to go back and play those games because they were excellent even within the limitations of the technology. They are still, go back to NES, SNES, PlayStation 1. There are solid, great games on those consoles because they were made well. It was a good game. It didn't have to focus entirely on the graphics. But yeah, as later generations went on, a lot of attention came basically with Xbox and Sony because these are big companies, big technology companies. They can put a lot of tech into their consoles, really push the power of what it is. And yeah, at one point we judged our consoles by bits, 8-bit, 16-bit, 32, 64, 128. That was how we judged it. Each generation was supposed to be like a jump forward. But later generations now, between PlayStation 4 and 5, there hasn't been a huge leap in graphical fidelity. There's been ray tracing and lighting features, but these are optional for a lot of games. You can just turn the things off, which is why PlayStation 5 Pro is so fucking useless. Why would we need it when the base game is perfectly playable on the base console? The only reason you would want the Pro isn't to play a more intensive game, like only a PC could handle this game, but now a PlayStation 5 Pro, you can play it. Hell, I bought myself a Game Boy, a 3DS, new 3DS Pro, or like the new 3DSs, because there were a number of games on it that couldn't be played by the 3DS. They needed those extra RAM. I remember the RAM adapter, the RAM extension for the N64, and in some games you needed that in order to play because they were so big that you couldn't play without them. That was the mentality, but later generations don't have that. And I think that it's why Sony has marketed the PlayStation Pro as it has. They're leaning into like luxury items. This isn't a console you need. Your baseline will do it, but this is a thing you want. They're kind of glamorizing it, making it look sexy. This is a premium item. This is a luxury item. It's not the thing you play on. This is the thing you show off. Yes. Because it's not required. This generation, especially on PlayStation, the library's been good, but very small. It hasn't got the reach and the scope of a PlayStation 4, and nowhere even close to PlayStation 2. That was the golden age. That library was huge. Full of shit, true, but you're digging and you find some absolute diamonds. But that was a different time in the gaming industry. Now, if it's not a seller, companies panic, so they lean into what they know will sell, and we get a lot less games. And the games that are coming out really aren't that impressive.
That's why you have to lean back in the old library to kind of, if you're not backwards compatible.
That's one of the great things, as you mentioned, one of the great things about Nintendo, not the backwards compatibility, they suck at that. All these companies are really failing the audience, failing the fans with archival. The old games are gone. You just can't play them anymore. You have to pirate them, or you have to go back and buy an old console and an old game in order to play them, which is insane. If they just brought out like a unified library. But we've talked about this on the channel before. I think that there should be a third-party group that archives video games as a matter of course. Like we have film archives, we have museums and for art and historical artifacts. These are things that led the way to what we have now, and we as gamers, we need to be able to show next generation, this is how we got to the games we got now. Go play back those earlier games. Oh, they're so crap. Yeah, but you can see the seeds of ideas, concepts and technological elements, tropes that evolved each generation and got better and better and better. Hell, Yahtzee Croshaw, not zero punctuation anymore, fully ramblonic. He did a great video recently looking at a term that he coined, the hairy dad game. And he looked at how a lot of game stories have evolved with the audience. When the audience were young and teenagery, it was all very get the girl, save the girl, beat the boss. Simple plan, simple concepts that power fantasies, meeting women. And then they got older and smarter, and then they had characters that, rebelled against their parental figures, who challenged authority, Half-Life, God of War, kill your own dad. And then, of course, Kratos became a dad. And now we have, adults. We're grown up with video games, but we're we're adults ourselves. We have little kids, so we've got games like Last of Us, where we're protecting a younger character. The story tropes and the ideas through these games have evolved alongside the audience, but we can't go back and show them where these ideas came from because we don't have access to it. Because each generation largely kind of supersedes, it takes over, supplants the previous one, and it's a damn shame. Which is why I don't think the PlayStation 5 Pro is worth getting, because there's nothing on the console that I think requires it. It's not a necessity. It's not pushing on ahead. But I love what you mentioned about Nintendo kind of being in their own thing. They, unlike the big two, Microsoft and Sony, which are tech companies, they push the technology. Microsoft has always been a game company. You know, they make games. Yes, they also make they also are a hardware provider, but the tech was always in service to the game. They were looking at, right, how do we experience this game? How do we play? What do we need to develop? What tech do we need to develop in order to do that? It was game-centric, experience-centric first. Now, I know it's a big company and they do what they have to make money, but they have always held true to that argument, you know? It's why some games haven't been released. They released a perfect version on the previous generation, and they're like, yeah, we can't iterate on it. It's just, we got it right. So there's no new versions. It's not like Forza or, you know, FIFA, where the next one is just like, oh, it's just the same again, but with some new lineups and a little bit more polish. They're like, no, we got it right there, then let's move on to the next thing. And that works, you know? It means that people are loyal to fault with Nintendo. Yeah, they've done some shitty things, but people trust Nintendo because they produce games first.
Yeah.
And that makes us loved, you know? It doesn't mean that they're a little bit behind the times, you know? It takes a while for them to catch up to what's been going on mainstream. Splatoon coming out years after, you know, team fighting, team shooters were a thing. But, you know, it also allows them to be stupidly litigious, to really screw people over. Nintendo play up that cutesy, family-friendly image, especially when they are suing the shit out of anyone and anything that pisses them off. Which is a nice little segue into Palworld.
Yeah, this is it. You sum up everything well and segued very smoothly.
First and foremost, I'd love to hear your thoughts. I want to know everything you're saying, but I do have to apologise to the audience. We talked about Palworld not long after it first came out and about what it was going on, and I was wrong. I was sure that they would get away with it, or they would be fine. But apparently not. Yeah, it was. Nintendo laid a trap card. Palworld just had to step on the wrong thing, and then boom, Uno reverse pitch.
It's like, yeah, that's what people are mining in the grass, man. Oh, that's mad, isn't it? But we're gonna go into that. And by the way, people, as we wrap up on this topic of the whole issue with, is it necessary to get PS5 Pro? In fact, wait, hold on. I actually didn't. To be even right now, the past few years, everybody, you all know my sub story about being a bit strapped for cash. But what was the deal with the Switch Pro and the Switch Lite?
Oh yeah, people have been screaming for a Switch Pro forever because the games they're releasing are way stronger than the Switch. The Switch chugs even when it first came out. You know, playing Breath of the Wild, when you go into the deep dark woods, when you go into to meet the Deku Tree, the woods chug, man. It was the frame rate would drop, and that was literally a launch title. They were bringing out games that were so far advanced than the tech that the people were like, yo, we need a pro version, please, for the love of God, bring out a pro. Where's the pro? We need the pro. People are begging for it. But no, Nintendo was like, yeah, we can't or we won't, whatever, you know. Just keep buying our games, and everyone went, okay. And then a year later, they were like, please, we need a pro. These games are amazing, but we can't play them right. And Nintendo was like, sucks to be you.
That sounds like, what's the guy who made, there's a whole rumor about the guy. No, I'm gonna take that segment now and make a show out of it. But, what's the dude's name? Bloody hell. The guy who made Smash Brothers.
Oh, Sakurai.
Sakurai. They said he kept teasing people about people wanting a Waluigi to be in Smash.
Yeah.
And he's like saying, no, Waluigi's a nonsense character that was just supposed to be a Luigi version of Wario. for Mario. But people kept saying it, and then he kept teasing a new character's coming to Smash Brothers, and eventually it was the plant that came
The
behind.
piranha plant, yeah.
Piranha. And people are like, oh man, it's like a big FU to us, to the audience. Nintendo Nintendo have a very interesting. I think I'll talk about this at the Palworld thing, but they have a balance. My God, sorry, but we have a balance between giving people what they want and telling people no. You know?
Laying out barriers. I think Waluigi was never going to be on their radar. I think that Sakurai never thought of him as a decent character. He was always a gag character, like a joke, throwaway. But just like Genos from Super Mario RPG, he was a character that people have been begging, screaming, crying, arguing, fighting to get into Smash. And that kind of worked against them because they trolled Sakurai and the Smash team so badly. I think it kind of poisoned the well. You know, it left a bad taste in their mouth. You know, like we're not going to be bullied into introducing this character. You're not going to push us into introducing this character. And the more people pushed and like begged and petitioned to get him, the more it pushed the goalpost away. You know, they're like, yo, you're making it harder for us. Let's go elsewhere. And they, instead of going into more Nintendo characters, they started leaning into other consoles. You know, they had characters from Tekken, Street Fighter, Final Fantasy. They started like going into other consoles, other IPs. You know, Bayonetta in Smash. You know, just crazy. I mean, I'm glad that they got the Bear and the Bird in, but you know, it just
really something like that.
It was a by the end, it was just like a long-running joke. Like you're never going to get Waluigi. He's never going to get his due. You know.
Yeah, I guess sometimes it's like a mom and a dad. Sometimes you gotta have the moms are typically more liberal, the dad's a bit more conservative, stereotypically speaking, so to speak. You're gonna have limits eventually. All right, it's enough candy for you. Come on, this deserves a little candy. No. You're gonna rotten your teeth out. I put my foot down. It's like I bet still. This is my money. I'm not buying this, spending this candy on you.
Absolutely. Sakurai. God bless that man. He is a quintessential stereotype of a Japanese developer. A man pushes himself to physical exhaustion, to physical pain, to produce his product, to work himself to death, which is the negative side of working culture in Japan. But out of such passion, like he cared about this game. This was his baby. He wanted to do it. He was planning on retiring, but no, he came back for one last hurrah for Ultimate, and I think that was a great way. We can't have any more Smash. I think Ultimate's just going to have to stand. Next generation, they'll bring an updated version, just like they did with Mario Kart 7. They were like Mario Kart 8. They did Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, just added more. I polished it up, but it was the same game. I think when Switch 2 comes out, if there's going to be a Smash, it's going to be an Ultimate Deluxe. But that's it. You know, we've had Smash. It's time to start thinking ahead. Like we need a successor rather than a sequel.
Yeah, I mean sometimes that's it. It's like you can keep living forever, or you can have a kid. You know, and
I think that the legacy's there though. No, his name is carved in the annals of history. His name will go down in history as a fantastic creator. He created Kirby. He's the guy who created Kirby.
I didn't know that. I can't
it's why Kirby was always like the mascot of Smash, even from the earlier ones. When you see like artwork and whatnot, Kirby tends to be center stage. When you had the ultimate story mission, Kirby's the only character who survives the initial attack. You start the game as Kirby. He's player one.
How did I not? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. Tell me this, man. How old is this guy?
Yeah, he's in his 30s, man. 30s, 40s, early 40s.
How do you in his 30s he made Kirby?
He was a young man, you know, worked for Dream Labs. He did this when he was quite young. But Kirby was like the character we have now was one that came through iteration. Like he was nothing like his first incarnation. The stories, the abilities, you know, being able to suck up and steal things. All these that came later. So.
Oh man, if we can shake his hand one day, that'd be awesome.
It would be nice. It would be nice.
Yeah, if Professor Suzuka beats us to the museum, because you have to get there by lottery apparently. or pay up. Fine.
Yeah, if the Nintendo Museum is going to be one that you will have to fight for a ticket to get into. But we're getting off topic.
Yeah.
So, Nintendo Museum, cutting into... Right, talking about Palworld. Now, when it first came out, we talked at great length about, companies taking over tropes. Like, you can't bookmark, you can't own, you patent a trope in a game. Because games are iterative. They iterate on each other. When a game does something and it works, other games will take that and do it as well and carry on. And it's not plagiarism, it's inspiration. But we lost out on a lot of iteration because some gaming technologies, some gameplay mechanics were patented. Like games during the loading sequence. That's a Konami thing. Konami patented it. Who's the company that has Konami, yeah, Konami, because they're the ones who released Bayonetta.
Furrow my brow.
Yeah. Well, all the news that make to say fuck Konami. But because they did it, we lost out on a generation. 2 generations worth of games and activities during loading sequences. It could have made whole games far more seamless. While it's loading, we're doing something else. I always liked the loading sequences in Metroid Prime, which was the doors opening. You shut the door, and then it took a bit of time for it to load the next section, but you were still active in the room you were in. You could still turn around, you could still gather stuff, and then just go through the door once it's open.
Wallies.
Well, Nintendo apparently patented the gameplay trope of throwing out a ball and catching a monster within that ball. Not monster hunting itself. I they can't patent the idea of a monster hunter game or a monster breeding game because there are many other, and they weren't even the first. That was Dragon Quest. But the idea of like the portable transportation device, like. Portable thing, throw and catch, and Palworld just ripped that straight from them. So, if it does come to court, they're screwed. They're boned.
It feels like the Diddy case. They could have come with him a while ago, but let's just build up some other case. Okay, we got you now. You're not getting out of our clutches. Oh
yes. I thought that they were in a scot-free because I felt that if Nintendo were going to litigate, were going to sue them, they were going to do it early on. They were going to make their intentions known. But no. Revenge is a dish best served cold. They were held back, they gathered information, they made sure that they had a kill shot rather than, they ran out furiously. What does Liam Neeson say in Batman Begins? You sacrifice sure footing for a killing blow. Take you out. No. They kept their footing. They waited for the right moment, and now they're primed to strike. And honestly, if that's the crux of their argument, it's a pretty good one.
Yeah.
Which sucks because Palworld's been successful, it's made a lot of money. If Palworld was going to get rid of that function, that feature, fair enough, but it feels like Nintendo are just going to wipe them out of existence.
It's a bit brutal. I guess it's business, isn't it? But there's something about Nintendo, they don't play.
They don't play. Shit, no, they do not play. They have sued a lot of people. Hell, I remember AMSR2, another Metroid 2 remake. That was a fan-made game, like a labor of love for Metroid 2, and it was developed using more modern technologies over years and years and years, and it is a great game steeped in the lore and the environment, the vibes of Metroid 2. Came out, and then within like a week, Nintendo were like, nope, shut that down. Now, it did turn out that they were already working on their own remake. So, they were about to launch their own Metroid 2 remake. So, I get why they were so jumpy. Like, we're bringing out a Metroid 2 remake. You can't do that. You can't do that. You can't pirate our game, make your own game, and then release it when that's a market share that we want. They want the demographic. It just sucks that it was such a great fan-made game. People going and reviewing it are like, this is incredible. It's so clever. It's so well crafted. It's years and years of iteration and improvement. The music works, the atmosphere, the gameplay but it's just pitch perfect. It is great. And Nintendo blasted it out of existence.
That's effed up. But I guess it's just business. On one hand, you can go to respect it because I mean it's a bit like we were talking a while ago about politics. You got to have boundaries, and but otherwise, people walk all over it. It's funny because on one hand, um, yeah, you got to protect your IP. And the only reason that the fan make game is getting traction is because of the IP. Now that means, I mean, the game could be fun and all that, but if they want, Nintendo could always argue, hey, listen, if you did all this with the original IP, would it sell as much? No, they take it away from us. And you're like, okay, fair enough. But I mean,
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, if it was its own game, maybe what these people should do, they should give a nod and a wink, which is what Palworld is trying to do, but a bit more in your face, of course, on the nose, by saying that this is not Pokemon, but it's Pokemon.
Yeah, there's a difference between a wink, like a knowing thing, and going, hey, hey, hey.
And this is yeah. So it's
Yeah, there's a difference. These are people who think subtlety is like subtlety. It's it, it's it's so close to the original. It feels like plagiarism, even if it is like a homage, even if it is a labor of love, even if it is like inspiration. If they were inspired by Pokemon and they wanted to do their own thing, which it is. It is not a Pokemon game. The core game mechanics are survival, of gathering resources and surviving, rather than a monster hunt, monster battler. But it's just too close. It's just too close to the original source material. And there's a great quote from Red versus Blue. Well, there's thousands of great quotes from that series. I love Red versus Blue. But season 10, there's a moment where a character says, I understand why you did it. I just wish you didn't. I understand why Nintendo's suing Palworld. I absolutely do. I just wish they didn't. I just want them to let other people take inspiration from them, give them the opportunities to iterate on their IP. Yeah, Palworld, like Icarus, flew a little too close to the sun, but you can't blame them for trying. Pokemon isn't considered a JRPG. It isn't considered, a fringe game. It's a massive institution. It's like one of the most successful. It's the most successful franchise of all time. More people know Pokemon, play Pokemon, love Pokemon than Star Wars, Star Trek, Lord of the Rings, WoW, COD, games, films, book series. All of it falls before the Titan that is Pikachu. How can you build something so culturally resonating and not expect people to draw inspiration? Yeah, Palworld was a little bit on the nose, but to smash them down so painfully, to really brutalize them like I feel they're going to, it just sends the wrong message. Nintendo's supposed to be the fun one. They're supposed to be the company. I get them protecting their IP, and I get that they need to draw strong boundaries to deter, like send a message to others that, if you can go and release games in the same genre, but if you go near our IP, we will destroy you. I get it. And it's a massive bang. That's a billion-dollar company. Just Game Freak alone, just their own wing makes so much money. I mean, the number of how much they make on merchandise alone, it's staggering, mind blowing.
On airplanes, Skymark, and so on.
It's everywhere. There is nowhere on earth you can go where you can't buy a Pokemon fill in the blank.
Yes.
But I know why you did it. I just wish you didn't.
Yeah, that is a fantastic and heartfelt sentiment shared by many.
Yeah.
I mean, what can you do? I think I guess
I think the fans, if Nintendo tries to take Palworld, I just hope the fans will keep it alive. Fan servers, fan copies of the game, try and keep that ethos, like get people playing it. I haven't played it myself, but I always planned on taking a bit of time out at some point and playing it for a bit,
I think we need to play it to kind of get deeper into the weeds, so we know what we're talking about. I mean, and that being said, because there may just be a way for a phoenix to rise from the ashes, if you will. I mean,
I hope that it's not going to. I don't think it's going to be a phoenix, but I do think that someone's going to come out of this. They've made the Palworld was so successful that its destruction will fertilize the soil for a lot of other companies. There is the room to grow here. There is a market. There is, market share available. Just play it safe. Just don't draw upon all of Pokemon, but go in the same vein. And Nintendo can't stop them. You can't litigate an idea.
Yeah, I think, oh boy, I mean, to win the lawsuit would have been awesome. That being said, hey, listen, we're at this point of the saga, but technically, we haven't lost the lawsuit yet.
Yeah, no, it's true. No future updates. I honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Nintendo won. I think it's a foregone conclusion personally, but I've seen Hail Marys, I've seen Uno reverses in real life, my own personal experiences. So, it's not done until it's done. So Palworld should fight hard. They should do everything they can. It's a Japanese company and Nintendo's a Japanese company, so it's going to be internally litigated. And there are no protections for fair use in Japan.
There's no
legally, an IP is absolute. If you come near them, it's not a case of homage or parody. None of that exists here. If you use someone else's IP, it is entirely at the parent company's discretion. That's why parodies here tend to be big and showy and very, very. Obviously, they don't cut deep. It's all kind of surface level stuff. They never cut deep. They never really go into the guts to really take the piss or dig deep. It's all very pleasant and friendly here because if you mention someone else's IP and they don't like it, you are in the wrong. You shouldn't have mentioned it. It's not like other companies, and I think that's that's the reason why I think Nintendo has this, because it's like picking Texas and having your litigation there because the judges are going to be more lenient or at least more favorable to your arguments. The arguments in Japan are just almost solely on Nintendo's side. They have all the cards. I mentioned Uno Reverse. It'll be a Hail Mary. It'll be a special card that Palworld will have to play because Nintendo's just going to be do.
Yeah. That's the thing. Just like Japan has no witness protection program either, which is why I think which is hilarious, man. I was thinking, in England we have it too, right?
Yeah. And most countries will have some way of protecting people who come forward and vouch for or kind of what's the term? Who witnesses who've seen and will testify to criminal activities, whether it be against politicians, companies, private individuals. We will protect you for doing the right thing. But Japan, not so.
It's hilarious. So in which case, this is why it's a bit of a culture clash situation. It looks harsh from the West, but in Japan, things are very black and white. And unless you got the Yakuza on the other end. which I hate, by the way. I despise those scumbags, but just so you know. But unless you got them on the other end, it's just going to go the way the law is written under the textbook.
A lot of people need protection. A lot of people just trying to do the right thing. Occasionally, they get stamped on by these companies. You get companies here that are able to dominate entire industries. They are so powerful, and they can work the system so well that they crush all their opponents. That's why we have these these companies that are absolute dominate entire regions. They have no competitors. They just squash you. So, and they do so either legally or illegal. But on the other side, smaller companies do occasionally get protection from more unruly elements of society, not supporting it, do not vouch for it. But it is kind of an unspoken truth that if you want to go up against the big guy, get a dragon at your back.
Yeah, that's it. It's a bit like the whole Sega thing with the there's a Guru Larry. He did a video with his friend Wesley about Sega kidnapping, having the Yakuza kidnap someone's sister because they were going to work for Nintendo.
Yeah.
And it's like, who do I turn to? The police, the Yakuza and the police are in cahoots. So I'm going to have to try and do some unscrupulous things to try and get out of this situation. So these companies, it's not all clean. I mean, I love the image of Nintendo's. That's the one thing about Nintendo they got is an image. Especially, I think we were going to speak about Ubisoft's image being a bit tarnished as of late for unscrupulous.
Oh yeah, we were going to talk about them, but honestly, screw them. The Jomo family have kind of run that company into dirt. They are so unpleasant as people that they're just holding their IP to ransom. I hope they sell. I'm just fearful for the kind of company that would buy and just run, Assassin's Creed, Rayman. Absolutely, just grind it to dirt. If they sell to one of these mega companies, these shareholder run companies, it'll be sad. It'll be sad that so many great games that Ubisoft did produce, so many great IPs will be destroyed, and it is the sad fact that Nintendo is litigating a smaller company for copying them, and Ubisoft is a company that's in decline, but they brought it on themselves. Both companies brought it on themselves. Nintendo was so successful that they made fans. They made smaller companies want to emulate them, and Ubisoft had been protecting rapists for so long and screwing their audience that now the company's failing, and everyone's just sitting back and smiling. Nobody cares. Nobody's fighting for Ubisoft. No one but the die-hard simps.
This is the what's the word? The year of exposing. 2024, as Cat Williams would say. Oh well.
Trouble is, it's been the year of exposing for the last 4 or 5 years. We know what they've been doing. Every year it comes out more and more that they're doing stupid, shady shit. But they had a stranglehold. It's their companies, their IP. And now that the company's going under, that they've lost, 50% of their market share? The company's like tanking in value. And nobody cares. Boo fucking who?
Yeah.
The world's smallest violin. Boo. Oh, you know what? I'll give you 2. Boo.
Oh my god. Well, yeah. So Nintendo now, finally, my final thoughts would be a company that knows how to give people what they want and so on. But also, they're also very hard-lined in terms of what their boundaries are and so on. If they can... Yeah, hopefully this Palworld thing isn't put a chink in their public perception. I mean, the thing that I think Nintendo don't care. That's the thing. They don't care. They do this year after year, and they're like, listen, man, it's time for lawyers. We're gonna put a foot in your face, and that's that. And everybody else is gonna enjoy. Now, I think the reason why Nintendo they get respect is because they're very upfront about it. Their lawyers don't play, but their games do.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So that's it. So whereas in the other, I think as long as you're not being hypocritical, it's like with sort of virtual signaling about we're the nice guys and so on. They're not trying to be nice. They're just trying to be a successful game company, and they've actually got facts on side. They're saying, hey, listen, people like our games, and this is how we make games, and that's all there is to it. We're not really trying to virtual signal and say we're kind or something. We just sell games that people want. And if it happen to be kind games, that's that. But don't mess with our lawyers, And I think, and so because of that, you can't say that. I think hypocrisy is one of the things that bring people down. When it's like you're trying to put up a false image of what you are, but Nintendo is like, no, this is what we are. We always sue people. You know this, man.
That's a good point, actually. CD Projekt Red, after Cyberpunk came out, and it turned out to be absolute trash on the older consoles. And it just glitchy as hell. The game needed another 6 months, another year of development before actual release, but they rushed it out the door because they had deadlines. But CD Projekt Red were the cool company, they were loved and people fought for them and argued for them. They had legions of dedicated fans. But then when they brought out such a trash game, that respect, that kind of clout evaporated, and then people were like, oh yeah, you are just another big corporation. You've been talking about how great you are with and how you look after the gamers. You're out for the gamers, out for the developers. But no, you're crunching like hell, destroying your own employees to produce subpar products.
That is it.
Great. Hello, Ubisoft 2.0.
That's it. You just don't make promises you can't keep, and just
Oh.
and don't. I think virtual signaling is a fool's game, a fool's errand, because people won't care if you just excuse me. My God. Anyway, I'm some honey and lemon. People won't care if you just upfront and say, we're just ruthless business people, but we will give you a good game. And I think it's what Nintendo are about. They're not, yeah. So therefore, they'll win probably whether or not they crush Palworld or not. I would say in the long run, I don't think it will hurt the company because they're saying we got fangs, man. But, yeah.
Nintendo got a lot of clout, a lot of brownie points from the industry when they when they rebooted Metroid Prime 4. Metroid Prime was a massively popular series. Everyone loved it. I loved it. I mentioned it in this very video. But when they say, we're releasing Metroid Prime 4, all it was just a picture. It was just a picture, stock art of Metroid Prime 4. Everybody went berserk. A year or two later, they came out and went, look, development's not going the way we want. We are unhappy with the direction the game's going, so we're going to scrap it all. We're going to go back to the original developers and start anew. This means the game will be delayed. But they were just upfront. They just told everyone. And people were like, no, it's going to be delayed. But you were honest about it, You were just upfront and just said, yo, the game's not good. We're going to get rid of the first version and we're going to go back to the guys who made the original because they know how to make it good. And it took years and years and years. But, one of the recent directs, we got footage, just a taste of Metroid Prime 4, and it looks good. Maybe it was worth it, People, I respect that they were just upfront about it. Like, yo, this is the state of things.
That is it.
It is what it is,
Yes.
And it's the same with the litigation. Nintendo have never been shy with litigation, but they've never hid. They don't hide behind it. They've always been fairly litigious. And along comes someone with their own ball-throwing, animal-catching game, and you're like, that's why everyone thought that they were going to sue. But they were just waiting to gather information to make sure that they could take them out.
It's a brilliant example. And what's funny is, I think the only thing that makes this different is that Nintendo were being like an alligator in the water. And that because they weren't acting for us, people thought, oh, Nintendo, let it go. So it's like, oh, what? Yes, we're gonna whip you. Yeah, sorry, we just kind of shining our knuckle dusters.
Yeah, Palworld went to the watering hole, and instead of striking ahead, Nintendo just slowly sidled a little closer until you were within striking distance, and now it's time for the death roll.
That is funny, man. It's like I saw these comedians, husbands, talking about alligators in Florida. They're like, I just hope that son bitch comes just a few more feet. I'm gonna grab him.
Yeah. A little closer. Come on. You want to. Don't worry about it. Don't worry. It's fine.
Oh no! Yes, it's awful. Well, yeah, that's it. I think so. This is a good lesson. We just gotta be careful. I guess if Palworld is smart, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
I hope they survive. I do hope they survive. Yeah. I think that it's a cute game. It's fun, and people are really enjoying it. But it was always like an early release. It was an early access game that people were playing with. It was just using cute animals. I love the fact because it resonated so intensely with me because my worst movie monster, the one movie monster that still freaks me out to this day is Gremlins. Not Xenomorph, not Freddy or Jason, it's the Gremlins because the Gremlins are a swarm. They swarm you. There's lots of small animals, but they're smart. It's like, oh, this is a crazy monster. This thing doesn't fit into my understanding of taxonomical. And then at the end of the first movie, what happens? He pulls out a gun. It's like, whoa, my God, it's a fucking monster. What is that thing? Yes. He's back in heat. Dive. Why don't movie monsters do that? You're like, oh, I'm a scary monster. Oh shit, this got real.
Yeah, he seems like me.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, he's a pocket. It's like we're in a Pokemon battle, and then it pulls out a gun. You're like, oh no,
yes.
no. It's so much more scary. It's so much more scary, and it's like with Palworld. I was like, oh, it's Pokemon with guns. Oh, things are getting real.
Yeah.
I can hit you with a thunderbolt, or I can do a headbutt, or blah blah blah.
Exactly. I mean, most people want to shoot Pokemon, but it's like, why do the Pokemon shoot us? If they do, then it's over. Then what's the point? Yeah, exactly. So we'll see. I mean, hopefully something gets salvaged, but let's see. Well, I will follow this story. I think we'll follow it.
The saga's not yet finished. We're in the phase 2. We've got our Winter Soldier coming out. We've got our Dark World. We need to know more, but Thanos ain't here yet. We haven't hit our snap. Yes, yet. Maybe this time Thor will go for the head. We will miss the snap, or maybe goodbye, Palworld.
We'll
Good
see.
try.
And, because I know you have to wrap up soon because of
we need to wrap up. Okay, so let's put a bow on this. We talked about Sony sticking to business traditions and releasing a Pro when it wasn't required. We've talked about Nintendo litigating, but just doing a shitty thing, but being honest about it. And we touched on Ubisoft.
Yeah,
Chickens are coming home to roost. That's a company that deserves to die. It's just sad for the people who work there, who made so many great games, who really try to use great IPs and produce great games, and have been consistently boned by the guys above.
I want to go into that deeper too. And there's one more thing I want to mention before, which came down and I mentioned before we started was I kept wanting to talk about the economy and the whole thing of Nintendo.
It's the idea, the market share. It's releasing a PlayStation Pro doesn't make sense because there's no market for it. The games that are on the PlayStation already, the base version, work perfectly fine. The only differences are bells and whistles, and that's why they're selling it as a luxury item and not a core console, like they did with the PlayStation 4 Pro. We got a mess of games that this will play, but PlayStation 5 is just, there's no market for it, which is a damn shame. It's
it. And it comes down to this, like just what you were saying before. I mean, the company is subsidized by the other aspects of Sony, if we're going to say this is like the Xbox and Microsoft.
Sony, the company, could take the hit.
But here's the thing: it's the beautiful thing. Just like with the Stadia, money does not equal success, which is I think success can equal money, but money doesn't equal success, and which is a beautiful thing to remember, no matter what, because it's just like the e-cars, which can be great in some circumstances, but if you put on one, if you don't got the mind for it, if it doesn't take you as far as you'd like to go with, as the good old fashioned ones, and if without needing a charge here and there, and if they're so heavy that they actually damage your environment in the process. You have to rebuild bridges, for goodness sake, for a bunch of these cars to not smash through them after a while. But that's one thing. If you've got something that is really great, but it's not what the audience is asking for, let alone what they can afford, they're just not going to touch it. The audience, it just won't sell. Now again, I don't know what's going to happen with the PS5, just like I don't know what's going to happen with Palworld, but time has shown us with the PlayStation, Game Boy, the black and white Game Boy surviving the color Game Gear, the Atari Lynx, and all these things, showing that if you have something that is within the limits of your audience's expectations, affordability, and what they actually want, you can actually be more successful than putting in a lot of money to something that looks impressive to them, but it's still out of their availability. It's just like you can't pull petals out of a blooming flower. You got to let it actually blossom.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You're completely right there. There are multiple instances where superior products have failed before their weaker brethren. VHS taking out Betamax, Blu-rays taking on HD DVDs. These are technologies that are objectively better, but their company perception, the market forces, and the availability, the price range have just been right. The market has aligned with some factors. I remember playing Game Gear when I had a Game Boy and going, wow, this is incredible. But I'm sticking with my Game Boy,
Yes.
I brought it up before, but this is a PlayStation Vita. I gotta say, OLED screen, touchscreen on the back, a whole multitude of amazing games. This thing was playing PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3 level games years ago. It was the Cadillac of a handheld, but they priced themselves out of the market. For a handheld, this thing was hefty price, and there just wasn't a massive market. There wasn't a huge library. I bought this specifically because I was in the market for a handheld, and it had a bunch of PlayStation 1 games. But I could play PlayStation 1 games on my phone at this point. So
Preach.
it's a damn shame. It's an amazing one. Anyone who's got one will talk about how great it is. It just didn't do anything that no one else has done. It didn't do anything of its own.
Man, this is the main gems of I think the whole discussion, because it shows you how to succeed. I hope this is something that you can learn from audience. But this is how you succeed: is that you have to really find out what the audience really wants, and again, you
know your demographic, know what really target what you want to sell. It's why I was surprised that Pepsi is so successful, because to me, Coke is clearly the superior product. It's a bigger company. It has a much more market share in the audience. People all over the world drink Coke. It's just a thing. It's Coke. And then when you look at Pepsi, you're like, the knockoff, the dollar store brand. But Pepsi, in the past 15, 20 years, is it? They have a massive share in young. They are the brand that has branded itself as being young. They're constantly updating their logo. They're hiring pop stars and influencers to promote them rather than, the red clothes Santa Claus. Coke is the institution. They're the youth, the cool, the different. And it works. They have the absolute market share. They have the demographic of young people. Young kids drink Pepsi and then they graduated drinking Coke, which blew my mind because when I was young, everyone just drank Coke. Pepsi was like, oh yeah, okay. They did well. They knew their market and they grew their market. They developed strategies to target their demographic. And companies that do so tend to succeed. And then once you have a demographic, you can begin expanding upon it. It has caused a lot of companies to do stupid things, especially video game companies, trying to milk those customers, milking the same customers over and over, rather than growing the audience. But same for films and books and music. There's just a lot of people trying to get in and get their slice of the pie.
It's very, last thing I'll say is it's very deceptive. It's actually, I say deceptive, I mean, it's super sophisticated what's going on. People who look at this sales, the way marketing works, as a complete layperson, they get the wrong idea. This is what Palworld had. I mean, Pepsi and Coke, one layperson would think it's the same bloody drink, right?
Basically.
So you think, Palworld thinking, well, why can't we do it in Pokemon? Because, Pepsi and Coke exist, and 7-Up and Sprite exist. Why can't I? So, and then all of a sudden, well, again, just like you said, you have to really differentiate yourself, even if the product looks so. This is what showed the genius of Palworld. If they survived the lawsuit, they showed that no, we actually did differentiate ourselves effectively, and Nintendo come knocking with the lawsuit. And if it's like, oh well, actually we're not the same as Coke, we're Pepsi, then everybody will say, whoa, okay. Then there's a way into the market that we didn't realize, even when lawsuits come knocking. So I mean, Pepsi doesn't have cocaine in it. That's one thing, but
yeah. But I think that's why Nintendo waited so long before the lawsuit. They needed to make sure that they really honed their argument. They had to be able to say it's not just you're in the same market and then you'll copy it. No. It's the specific patent infringement. That it's the game mechanic specifically that we own that you copied. Maybe all of this could have been avoided if they threw a cube rather than a ball in Palworld. If they were just throwing cubes as opposed to balls, this whole thing could have been.
That's it. It's funny because if Nintendo jumped the gun and sued them, it could actually hurt Nintendo because it's like Nintendo's trying to be overly litigious and it looks like, and then other people
monopolize.
Nintendo failed. Everybody, let's make a Pokemon clone, and it's like, so Nintendo's thinking, okay, these guys just may have a differentiation between our Coca-Cola, and so you have to be. It's very sophisticated. If you can carve out your audience properly, know what they want, and go for them. It seems that the sky's the limit, but you have to be careful. It's very sophisticated.
Especially if you're trying to make a similar product. Nintendo's argument at this point is, hey, you're using the same ingredients as us. You're welcome in the market, but you can't copy our mixture.
That is it. They have the Big Mac, but we have the Big Mick.
They have the golden arches, we have the golden hoops.
That's what
love America. It's an interesting point. It's an interesting point. And again, to be continued. This is not the end. It wasn't the end the first time. This is the second one. Let's go phase 3. Let's see how Palworld escapes litigation. And screw Ubisoft.
Oh, Ubisoft. I do want to see what happens with them too, actually. I'm
looking forward to watching that. I'm just going to get some popcorn, sit and watch the world burn.
That is it. And thanks for the gaming, Pete. Gaming Dan's gonna should we upload the Zelda all at once?
Yes, I promised that once the family stuff was over, I would be jumping on the Legend of Zelda. I'm already out a couple of hours deep. I am freaking loving it. It is a great game. I have thoughts, but you're gonna have to watch the videos to see them. Don't worry about the bear and the bird. I will be back to bear and bird shortly. I am this close to finishing it, but it's Zelda. I can't help myself. So I'm playing the Zelda. I'm playing a hell of a lot. We'll put all of that up. We've got the first couple of videos done and dusted. They're just being finished. The editing's been done, and then Once that's done, I'll jump back to the Bear and the Bird, and then I'll be moving on to Luigi and Mario Brothership.
Yeah, oh my god, dude, if I could give you a bro hug, I would, but we were in a different part of Japan, so thanks,
Air
man.
hug.
Yeah,
F5.
man. Have a good day, man, and we'll catch up next week.
Nice.
Yeah.
Peace.
Peace.